There are very few living legends in Milwaukie. But Dorothy and Hurtis Hadley, former owners of Milwaukie Pastry on Main Street, are definitely two of them. Now, Dorothy's just not here to sell her cookbook, Honey's favorite desserts and brunches too, on sale for $23 out front. And Hurtis is not here to get me a better tea time at the Eastmoreland Golf Course. They're here because of their intelligence, their kindness, their humor, and above all else, they are role models to anyone and everyone. They have experienced hardship and adversity, resulting in many of us just to give up and accept our fate. But the Hadleys used their skill, intelligence, and personalities to overcome naysayers and become successful when the odds were against them. In my mind, three of their greatest attributes are believing humanity is generally good, believing in themselves to pursue their dreams, and humility about their success. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dorothy and Hurtis Hadley, Sr.
Thank you for that warm announcement.
Thanks, Greg.
Anyway, we're going to do the Black National Anthem, and I'm going to ask all of you to stand. So we'll do about 5 choruses, and when we get to Shirley Chisholm, the first black woman congressman in 1968, we'll stop there, and then we'll just look and listen. We won't be singing, we'll just look and listen, okay? Black History Month isn't a separate history. This is American history, our history. We need to understand that it's such an impact on our kids, their values, and how they view Black people. Written by Karen Parson.
Black history, American history, to celebrate achievements of African Americans and a time to recognize the roles of our Blacks in history. My name is Dorothy Bishop Butler Mixon Hadley. No, I've only had one husband. Bishop is my maiden name, Butler is my grandfather, Mixon is my husband's birth name, and Hadley is my married name.
My name is Hurtis Mixon Hadley Sr.
I am the third daughter of 10 children. I was born in Tiller, Arkansas, but grew up in Portland, Oregon.
I am the second son of 5 children, and I was born in Nevada, Arkansas, and I also grew up in Portland, Oregon. We are both Vanport survivors. Vanport was the largest housing project in the United States and the second largest city in Portland. It was located where Delta Park and the International Raceway is today. I lived next door to Mrs. Martha Jordan, who was the first Black teacher in Vanport School. Vanport was not meant to be segregated. But when the white people started complaining when they were moved near the Black families, it changed. Black families in one area, whites in the other. But the schools remained segregated, integrated. And white and Black attended Sunday school and church together.
My dad was recruited by Henry J. Kaiser to work in the shipyards during World War II to help build ships.
My dad was in the service, but my parents divorced before the flood. The day before the flood, May 29, 1948, around 4 a.m., families had received notices under their doors that the dike was safe for now. You will be warned. You have time to leave. Don't worry. On May 30th, 1948, the dikes broke at 4:17 p.m.
The emergency siren went off, and we left with the clothes on our back and the dinner that my mother had tied with a tablecloth in 4 corners. I think she thought if we didn't have clothes, at least we'd have food, no matter what condition. We headed to higher ground. Buses were waiting there that took us to Kenton grade school. When we arrived, my older brother told me that we were all hosed down with some sort of disinfectant, like animals, even though we had not waded in the flood waters.
It was a warm day, and I was outside flying my kite when I saw the water coming, and I ran home and told my mother. My mother had packed our clothes and belongings the night before, but my stepfather had not returned with transportation. So my mother waved down a flatbed truck, and that picked us up. We also left with the clothes on our back. My stepdad had relatives in Giles Lake, and we went to live with them until we got housing.
We slept on thin pallets on the floor in Kenton School until 2 white families came and got us. One family took Mother, my 2 sisters, and me to live with them. Dad and my 2 brothers went to live with the other family in Giles Lake, which was located in northwest Portland. I often wonder who those God-sent families were who took us in, fed and clothed us till we got a house. I always get upset about that.
We were both project kids. We would live in Bagley Downs, St. John's Woods, Hudson Homes, Pheasant Homes, and Columbia Villa. my wife's last housing project until we got married 58 blessed years ago. After the flood, a lot of black families still lived in housing projects. But in 1952, my family moved over town, as we call Northeast Portland, where a lot of black families lived where the Coliseum is now. Some families were able to buy homes, but only in certain areas of Portland. That was called redlining. Dorothy and I experienced redlining when we went to buy our present home.
But we were able to buy our house because my mother's landlord's son, T.A. Nelson, was a house builder. And after he went to the bank and paid the closing costs, he handed the contract over to us. My mother became a widow at an early age, leaving her to raise the 5 children. During the summer, my older brothers were allowed to pick berries and beans. When they came home, they would tell us they had seen all the kids who used to live in the projects. So my sisters and I begged my mother to let us go because we had thought we would have money, could see all the black kids we knew, and flirt with the boys. But my mother had figured out how many pallets of strawberries and how many pounds of beans each of us had to pick each day so we would have money to buy our school clothes. Then we all wished we hadn't asked to go.
I was raised by my mother. She rode on the bus with us to the berry and bean fields. We rode with the winos because they got paid every day. The berry and bean fields were segregated. I could see the white families on the other side of the fields. We also had to buy our clothes, but my mother gave us spending money for candy and the movies, which was segregated, and we had to sit in the balcony.
I graduated from Roosevelt High School in North Portland, which was mostly white, and during lunch, school assemblies, and school dances, we all partied like the Red Sea, no communication. After graduating, I attended Hollywood College of Beauty. Oh, no, not California Hollywood, Northeast Hollywood, Portland, Oregon. I received my cosmetologist license, but was unable to use because the white beauty shops did not hire black beauticians. We were hired as shampoo girls. I finally did get a job, but when an incident happened at the beauty shop, the owner told me, "I didn't pay you to think." That was my last day. I quit.
I attended 4 different grade schools in Portland, and I had one black teacher, Mrs. Childs, at New Elliott Grade School, which is now Tubman Grade School. I graduated from Jefferson High School, which was 50% black and 50% white, where there was 2 racial incidents. One by my social studies teacher, Mrs. Bushnell, who told me that I should stick with my music rather than pursue a career in radio broadcasting. The other was by my golf instructor, Mr. Roach, who did not offer me a ride to and from our games as did the white kids. And he did not let me know when the golf group picture was being taken. So my picture as a golfer was not in the yearbook. But I did letter in varsity basketball, where I did get my picture in the yearbook. During high school, I worked for a black DJ, Fitzgerald Beaver, at Bop City Records. He could not buy black artist records from the Portland distributors, but his co-owner, Wilson Smith, worked on the railroad, and he would purchase records on the East Coast for us to sell in the store. I played saxophone with a few black bands in Portland. I was the manager of the band called Fabulous Majestics. We traveled up and down the West Coast. We even traveled with the Larks, who was famous for the song, The Jerk. Come on, Bob.
Come on, Bob and Judy.
Come on.
Bob, come on.
Our 2 children were the first black students bused to Rose City Park School with 48 other black children, to a school of 600 plus white students. They were not welcomed by the principal or the staff. All the bus students were called niggers and blackies. And when the principal refused to do anything, Dorothy and I insisted on meeting with the white parents, and we put a stop to the name calling.
Thank you. I joined the PTA and wrote one of 3 Black history plays for the bus students. We called our play Black Beginnings. The bus students were not included in any activities, and this was the reason I wrote the play. We were awarded a certificate of recognition by Portland Public School, stating our play was the best Black history play they had seen, and asked us to present our play at several other schools. My second play, Voices from the Past, was written while I was a volunteer for AmeriCorps at Sacramento Grade School, and all my students cast were white special education children who called me Grandma Honey. My second play, my last play, A Journey Through Black History, was written at Woodlawn Grade School, where I was an experienced Corps mentor, tutor, volunteer.
During our son Hurtis Jr.'s 8th grade year, I formed a basketball team. We won first place in our division. While working at Albertson Bakery, I attended Portland Community College in a 3-year apprenticeship program. I completed in 2 years and became a journeyman baker. I was the first Black American in Oregon to graduate from the apprenticeship program. 2 years later, I was the first Black American to become Albertson Bakery manager and the first Black Oregon bakery trainer. A few years later, I was hired at Safeway stores as their first Black bakery manager and Oregon bakery trainer. I was being groomed to become Oregon Division bakery trainer. But I did not get the position because I was told the whites in Southern Oregon would not accept authority from a Black man. I told Miss Hadley I want to buy a bakery. She said, where? I said, Milwaukie, Oregon.
I said, oh, no, that won't work. There's cowboys and horses out there. My first customer showed up in cowboy boots. I was in charge of the front end, selling all the birthday cakes, wedding cakes, pies, donuts, assorted breads, and dinner rolls.
We became the 3rd owners of Milwaukie Pastry Kitchen in 1977, and Milwaukie, Oregon's first Black-owned business, and the first Black-owned and operated bakery in Oregon. Tell them about it, Greg. The community was glad to have the bakery open after a year of being closed. One incident that happened was from a Milwaukie bank manager who accused me of robbing the bank. He told my wife I looked like the man who had just robbed the bank. When I returned from buying supplies, I confronted him. He said, I made a mistake. Well, I guess we all look alike.
The next day, he sent me a bouquet of roses, which I promptly threw in the garbage. A few years after we opened the bakery, we leased a barbecue soul food cafe. I became the manager with my sister and our 3 children, Hurtis Jr., who we call Mixon, M-I-X-O-N, Lori and Darren. We cooked for the local community, Northwest and Southeast surrounding areas. We even cooked for Portland, Oregon, former Neil Goldsmith. Would you like to know what they would order?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they would say, this is Mayor Neil Goldsmith's office. We would like to order rib dinners with potato salad, mustard greens, corn cakes, and sweet potato pies. But the kids from the high school ordered Buster burgers and seasoned fries. I am a crafter at bazaars. I make wedding towel cakes instead of real cakes. They look like real cakes, but they're made with towels. I decorate African American jump the brooms and I perform African American jump the broom ceremonies. I am a self-published author of a cookbook, Honey's Favorite Desserts and Brunches Too, and a domestic engineer. Some of the foods that I cook can be found in my cookbook.
Presently, I'm a docent at Oregon Historical Society, a SCORE member, a fully fledged Royal Rosarian, and a starter at Eastmoreland Golf Course. Thank you. We are members of Oregon's largest Afro-American AARP. I see our president, Judy Boyer,
Raise your hand, Judy.
and her husband, former Senator Bob Boyer.
Raise your hand, Bob.
Who just refused to do the jerk for you.
Okay, here we go.
In closing, we'd like to say, even though laws have been made to prevent the racial discrimination,
laws do not change the human heart.
Thank you.